Hello learners, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sagar Utekar and this is day 3 of our daily DevOps SRE challenge series, Season 2. Today we are going to discuss very important topic as a DevOps SRE engineer and not only that, as a software engineer, uh, if you're a software engineer, then also this topic is very much important. So today um, it is a basic topic but very important topic as an engineer and also for the interviews. So without ado, let's get started. Let me check. I'll start sharing my screen and explain the today challenge as well as what you need to do in today challenge. Let me minimize it. Hope this much is okay. Let me check. My screen is visible and yeah, okay. Okay, welcome back again to Daily DevOps SRE Challenge series. Today we are going to discuss the Git, the version control system, and GitHub and GitLab. So not only that, we are going to cover the theory. We are going to cover the important questions you may get asked in your DevOps SRE um, interviews, as well as the important commands you should know, the basic commands which you will use as a DevOps SRE engineer. And the notes are here, the challenge is here. Let me start. So let's start with understanding what is version control and what is version control system, VCS. So version control system helps developers to track changes, collaborate efficiently, and revert to previous version of the code when needed. As the name suggests, it is a system which helps us to manage the different versions. Let's try to understand this concept with very simple example of Hotstar. If you are using Hotstar and have been watching the cricket matches on the Hotstar, you will find that they keep on releasing new features. They keep on updating, um, asking to update your Hotstar. And there are different buttons, there are different tabs and different workflows. You need to sign in, you need to log in into Hotstar, you have the search bar to search for different movies, series, watch matches, the sports, and everything is there. There are different filters and different features. When you are working, so let's assume we are working in a Hotstar company creating the application which handles the more than 60 CR requests is not a joke. So they have the very good team of DevOps and SRE engineers, the application, Android application engineers, and then iOS application engineers, the software engineers. So it's a very huge team. What do you think? How they are collaborating on the same application or the same project? that this is something which we need to really think about it. And that is where this version control system comes into picture, and that is how the team of multiple team members collaborate with each other. Doesn't matter whether they are from India, from different countries, whether they are working daily or in the night shift, doesn't matter at all. So version control system help us to track the changes when we are pushing or creating new features or fixing the bugs at different time intervals at different time zones. Then we need to know who made that change. If something goes wrong while watching, the India-Pakistan match and system crashes, they need to have the um, history, who made that change, when that change went into the production, and how we can roll back. Or they need to have the previous copy of code as well as the current copy of the code. So that is where this everything is happening. So version control system help us to track the changes of different developers or different engineers. It helps us to identify who made that change at what time and the line of code lines. the changes made, as well as, it also helps us to revert back to the previous change if something goes wrong. So that all those features are very useful with a version control system. And as we discussed, it is not a small team. It is not a job of one person. It takes hell lot of time, the energy, the resources to create such amazing application. So collaboration with different team members is also important. That is with different team members. But what if your manager at Hotstar asks you to work on multiple features on the same application or same project, then how you can do that? So that is also possible with version control system using branching and collaboration using different branching and merging strategies and Git workflows. Okay. And what do you think? Can we store that Hotstar application code on one system on my local laptop? No. We need to have it stored somewhere where all team members can access it at any time. If something goes wrong, revert it to previous version. If another team members comes into new team member joins our team, then they also need to have the similar copy and same view of the code. They need to be able to see all the history made for the code changes, and they should be able to track the changes whoever made that changes. Okay, so everything is possible with the version control. Yeah, as name suggests, it helps to manage different version of our application or the project. So there are two main version control systems, which we need to understand. Again, very important question for the interview. What is centralized version control system and distributed version control system? Let me refresh it. Okay. So centralized version control system, which is legacy and now most of the companies have already moved to the distributed version control system because the feature it provides. Okay. The example of centralized version control system is SVN and CVN. And for the distributed version control system, we use Git as a centralized version control tool or the CLI, we can say. The main difference here in the centralized version control system and the distributed version control system, how the system works. In the CVCS, which is centralized version control system, we use the centralized server for the collaboration between the different team members. And that system, we can think that as a main resource or the main repository where everything is stored, the main code is there. If I want to collaborate with or I want to make some changes for the Hotspot application using the centralized version control system, then I need to establish the connection from my machine to the central server. Without that, I won't be able to perform any action. Okay. And in case of distributed version control system, I can create a new copy of my um, new copy of the main repository on my local repository and start making changes. Even if there is no internet connection after having a local copy between my system and the remote repository, that is fine. I can still continue working by using the local code which is there. And for using the latest code, I can use the git commands to pull the latest changes again for my local repository. So that is possible in distributed version control system, as we discussed, each user can have their own full copy of the main repository on their local machine and start doing the changes. Let's say we discussed one scenario where my manager, hostel manager, asked to work on the different feature, how that's possible. There we can use the different branches to work on the different features and switch between those branches. Similarly, other team members can have their own local copy of the changes and they can continue working on their features. Okay. And we don't directly merge the changes into the main repository. So we will create the branches and have our own repository, and we'll ask other team members to review our changes, and then only our main changes will go into the main copy into the distributed version control system. So you can see that these are the advantages and the disadvantages of the distributed version control system. DVCS is very widely used, and I don't have any report or the data, but most of the companies, more than 90-95% companies are using Git for distributed version control system. And that is how it helps us to collaborate better and improves the system um, connection between the system from the local machine to the remote. And yeah, so those are the main differences. Make sure you understand that. And the next thing is we talked a lot about the gate, that we are going to use the gate for communicating or using the distributed version control system. So gate is nothing but a CLI tool which you need to install, and you can clone the repository, remote repository on your local machine. You can collaborate with different team members, and you can have multiple branches created for your local repository and work on different projects. So you can clone multiple projects and create multiple different branches, switch between the branches. All those features helps us to collaborate efficiently and also track the modification, whatever changes we are doing into different files or different folders. And if something goes wrong, then we can go to the previous version. We can check the logs. We can check the commit. We can push the changes from our local repository to the remote repository. Everything is possible with a Git, which is a CLI tool you need to use or install on your local machine to communicate with a remote repository. Okay, let's talk about the remote repository, GitHub and the GitLab, and there are more tools like a Bitbucket, which provides the hosted remote repository solutions provided by the GitLab, Microsoft, and Atlassian, which you can use as a remote repository server. They provide the free version as well as they also provide the enterprise version with additional functionality, of course. So if you are for this challenge, we are going to use the free version of GitHub and the GitLab. But for enterprise mostly, the companies mostly use the enterprise version of GitHub, GitLab, or the Bitbucket. There will be always debate whether teams or the project should use the GitHub or GitLab or the Bitbucket. That totally depends on the pricing model and what are the features you are expecting. If you are looking for some full-fledged CI/CD model or the pipeline solution, then GitLab is good for the day of features, and GitHub provides the open source community features and the enterprise solution, as well as GitHub also have introduced the GitHub Actions, which is very popular, being used widely as a DevOps SRE engineer. So you can use self-hosted GitHub runners, and you can also leverage GitHub provided runners for the GitHub Actions. So a lot of things are provided by these, hosted, remotely hosted solutions, GitHub and GitLab. So check them out. That is also important question, and most of the people get always confused between the GitHub and Git. What is it? So Git is a CLI tool, and GitHub is the UI, which is provided by the companies. Okay, so whatever you can do from the UI, most of the things are possible with Git. And the main reason is using Git if you think like for any CLI tool, right? So we can't always use the UI. We don't always have the access to the browser and the UI. So in that case, CLI is very important, and you will understand that in coming challenges that why we are talking about Git CLI commands and how we are going to use those into CLI, workflows, GitHub Actions, then CI/CD pipelines, maybe somewhere while integrating with I guess Argo CD or the Kubernetes with scripting, lot many interesting things. And that is why I thought creating this video is important before jumping into the advanced topic. Okay. And yeah, so that is all the theory which you need to understand um, for the interview and the basics you need to understand. Let's talk about the two-day challenge, what you need to do. So I have documented all the steps and the commands on this GitHub repository. What you need to do is that create multiple accounts for GitHub and GitLab. I'll explain you why that is required. Um, we took one scenario of WhatsApp application and we discussed that when we are working on such a amazing, large, huge project, it's not a one-person job. It, we are going to work in team with different team members. And this challenge will help us to understand or simulate that scenario, how to work in a team, how to work with different team members and collaborate with them. So create different two accounts for yourself and try to simulate the entire challenge what we are going to do. And again, why GitHub and GitLab as well? When if you asked that can we use a GitLab for entire season or the entire series, and I said that why only GitLab or why only GitHub? Let's use both GitHub and GitLab for our challenges. So you'll perform the same exercise with GitHub and GitLab, and there is going to be very interesting challenge coming up soon, which will have both requirement GitHub and GitLab, and you will understand why I asked to create multiple accounts as well as the accounts for GitHub and GitLab. Okay, so let's again come back to the main challenge. Once you have your accounts created using the GitHub and GitLab CLI, you need to install Git CLI on your machine. You can use any cloud-based machine, use a local machine, whether Windows, Linux, Macs, doesn't matter for us, just install it. Okay, but understand this part, like how you are installing it for different operating systems. Once that is set up, we need to configure the users, which is going to talk from our GitHub CLI to remote repository of GitHub and the GitLab. So you need to configure those credentials and the users and the email ID as well as the authentication for your remote repository. Okay, so I have documented all those steps. Please check out two different methods how to authenticate the remote repository using personal access token as well as SSH key. Explore both the options. We are going to need both the options in future. Okay. The next thing is you need to clone my GitHub repository, which is in my account Sagar2366 and the repository name is Learn with Sagar. So clone that repository. You can also fork that repository. Again, very important question. What is the difference between forking the repository and the cloning the repository? So with the forking repository, you will have the similar copy of my repository in your own account, and you can do the any changes into that own copy of account. While cloning the repository, you can clone remote repository on your local machine. So you are not creating um, the repository into your remote account. Okay, so please make sure you note down all those questions and answers on your solution.md, which I'll explain the part later. Once that is done, you need to do some changes. You need to create different branches on your local repository and check, do some changes on the different branches, then add the changes, add the files, add the different commit messages, and try to uh, edit the commit messages. All those commands are here. Then try to push the changes from those branches, local branches, to the remote repository. Try to simulate the merge conflicts by changing the same file and the same line from different branches or different account and try to resolve the merge conflicts, because that is something which, as a DevOps SRE engineer, we always do. And again, very important question: what is merge conflicts and how to resolve merge conflicts? Okay. The next part is, this is where um, I explained that we will need multiple accounts. So we are going to simulate this scenario. Whatever the changes we are pushing to the repository, those needs to be get reviewed by the another GitHub and the GitLab account. Yeah, so please make sure you are reviewing the changes and merging changes as some different account, and try to understand how things work actually in the industry. And then clean up, once your work is done, clean up the local branches and the remote branches. Make sure you understand and explore and document all these commands. So I have also put the command summary here. Check that out. But what I'll suggest, watch the video, watch the challenge, and after solving the challenge, at the end, document everything you understood. Don't copy paste exactly what I have written on my this README file. I want you to explore and explain in your own words, because that is what you are going to do in the interview. If you have not understood any concept, please let me know. I'll be happy to help or try to make the things very much simple as much as possible. Okay. And how to submit the solution. You are going to create the GitHub repository, and for this entire season, we are going to maintain one GitHub repository with the challenge and the solution. The day-wise folder you can create, like I have created. So create a day-wise folder and upload the challenge and the solution on the GitHub repository. Once that is done, you can create a LinkedIn post or Medium blog or anything and share that link in our community channel. If you are writing LinkedIn posts, then tag me and use these hashtags. And then I can provide the feedback whether you have understood the concepts clear or not. Okay, that being said, if you want me to create a dedicated video on GitHub basics and from basics to advanced, whatever is required for DevOps SRE engineer, then let me know in the comments or in our community channel, and we'll make that available for our community. So this video is particularly designed for explaining the challenge, and I have already given the enough information how to solve this challenge. But still, if you want to understand how things work behind the scene and how what are these different commands when to use which, then we can create a dedicated video on that. Okay. Then the main question, many of you are asking for the community link. So I have documented all the links for the Discord channel, the Google group, and the YouTube links are here. So please make sure you join the Discord Google group, and also help me by sharing the challenges and the videos with more learners. This is free initiative, and we want to help more and more people from our end. Okay, so stay motivated with every challenge you are going to solve. You will get closer to your goal of becoming better DevOps SRE engineer and understand the DevOps and SRE practice. So keep learning, keep hustling, keep solving the challenges, keep sharing the news, and I'm looking forward to see you again in the next video. Please make sure you um, like, share, and subscribe. And whatever the challenges or the questions you have, share that in the comment or the community. And yeah, okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching this video till the end. See you again. Bye bye.